dissociate and go somewhere else. Hey guys, it's me, Holly Madison. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm continuing my reaction series to Girls Next Door. We are on season 4, episode something or other. I've lost track, but really, this is the first episode of season 5. In real life, it was the first episode of season 5. It aired in late 2008 and it was filmed in like April 2008. But after the fact, after the show aired and everything, they bumped it into season 4 for like streaming and DVD, just because to even it out, I guess. But in between seasons 4 and 5, we had a good 3 or 4 months off. And I feel like a lot must have happened during those months because there's a huge change I can see in myself. If you go from like the House Bunny episode or even the It's My Party and I'll Die If I Want to this one. Like all of a sudden I'm dressing better. I'm caring about what I look like on camera more. I have like a more feminine style. And you can just kind of tell that things went from being good between me and Hef in 2007 to like, you can kind of see me starting to get over it or be over it or lose patience a little bit if you're really paying attention. In fact, I'm gonna look at my old date books and see kind of what happened in between filming those 2 seasons. Okay, so there was a 3-month break in between shooting season 4 and shooting season 5. Because the first thing we shot for season 5 was the Super Bowl party, which will be the next episode after this one. So we were off from October, November, December 2007. And what was going on for me was a ton of work at the studio, totally busy with that. I was also still doing in vitro. And Bridget and I shot a Captain Morgan commercial, which ordinarily would be the type of thing they'd cover for the show, but because we weren't filming during that time, we didn't. And also Bridget and I did guest appearances on a show featuring somebody I would later date. So that was the first time I met that person, the person I would date after Hef. And but at the time when I met him, it wasn't like a thing. Like I thought he was cute, thought he was nice, but it wasn't like I thought we were gonna hang out or anything like that. So, but still just like planting the seeds for change to come. I'm just like mentioning that stuff as I go along with these episodes because it just tells a bigger story. So this episode is called Hot Chocolate. And when I'm talking about a Girls Next Door episode and I say, oh, this was my most embarrassing episode, talking about a different episode, people always think I mean the hot chocolate one because of chocolate vagina, which was kind of embarrassing, and we'll get to why, but that's not my most embarrassing thing. I'm not really embarrassed about stuff like that. We are starting the scene in Bridget's room. Wednesday is chasing Gizmo, and she's just so cute, just the way that dog like bounces around and stuff. And Bridget's gonna do a phone call with someone from Cirque du Soleil because she's been doing trapeze as a hobby, so they're gonna let her play around on the set of O when we're in Vegas for Hef's birthday. So we're starting off at Madame Chocolat, a chocolate shop in Beverly Hills, and they could make molds out of anything. So we decided for Hef's birthday, we would do molds of our body parts. And I was like, I'm gonna do a mold of my vagina because it's my best feature, which is what's the lie? But I was a little bit embarrassed because they really focused in on the chocolate mold a lot on this show. And I always thought it would be blurred on TV because they blur the nudity. And at this point, of course, I knew that like nudity wasn't blurred on like the DVD and stuff, but still there's like a different embarrassment factor when it's like on television and anyone can tune in and everyone, including your family and everybody, tunes in to see it right away. Whereas on the DVD, people kind of have to seek it out a little more. So for me, there was more of an embarrassment factor. And it was just the mold was so detailed, like way more than I anticipated. So that was embarrassing. And also like, I don't know if it's because I was laying down or what, but I was a little more open than I usually am. Like if I'm just standing up or something. So it was a little more like exposure than I thought I was going to get. So it was super embarrassing. So there's like 3 or 4 reasons I find it embarrassing, but also 5th reason, before I started in vitro, they told me I had endometriosis on one of my ovaries. So they did a laparoscopy to remove the endometriosis. And a laparoscopy is they make like a little cut and they do the surgery that way. And the 2 cuts were like right below your bikini line. And it's not really like a visible scar, like you can't even see it now. but it shows up when they're doing the extreme close-up for the chocolate vagina. So I'm just like, there's like so many embarrassment factors where ordinarily if I made the decision to go in and be like, oh haha, I'm gonna make a chocolate mold of my vagina, that's funny, I wouldn't be that embarrassed about that because I just think it's funny, and I'm not really embarrassed about nudity in particular contexts. But there were just nuances about it that I wasn't really ready for, or didn't, so I'm not a fan really. I'm a fan of the idea of it, like I still think it's funny, but not really a fan of how it turned out. And also I remember this scene, Kendra was late and they had to make her walk back out and come in again because she had like an energy drink in her hand, and they thought that, I think it was like an energy drink that her manager was involved in or something, and they thought that she was trying to like plug it on the show, so they made her walk back in like covering the logo or something. I forget exactly how it went down, but it was something like that. And then we each got a call from the executive producer like, you can't plug anything on the show if we're not aware of it. He told us we'd get like in tax trouble if we did it, which I don't even know if I believe that. I think he's just like, God forbid anybody else profit off the show. I really like my outfit in this. I have the yellow shoes. I have the yellow skirt. I don't have the top. I think I got rid of a lot of those blouses because they like didn't hold up. They were just like BB blouses, but I love my outfit. It was funny because Bridget brought bobbleheads because she's like, oh, cute chocolate molds, we'll make bobbleheads. And I'm like, vagina. So then everybody ended up doing body parts. Yeah, okay, so on Tubi, like my actual body is blurred, but the mold of it isn't. So you can see everything, and it's just too much for me. You guys, I'm losing my appetite watching this. When I left the mansion, I knew where the chocolate molds were. They were in these boxes, and I broke mine and destroyed it because I just didn't want it to exist anymore. There were a lot of other things I would have destroyed if I had access to them. And the amount of times they keep zooming in on the chocolate vagina is a little much. Like, they can calm down. Oh my God, but Kendra made a white chocolate butt, and then she put like a dot of brown chocolate to be like poop. But they blur that, but they don't blur the chocolate vagina. I swear, she is getting her butt wiped, literally in this case, throughout this whole series. And Bridget and I do not get the same treatment. I stand by that. So we're back in Vegas for Hef's birthday. They show a plane landing and add skidding noises as usual. And Bridget is going to go get her makeup done to do her Cirque du Soleil thing. So there was an incident when we got to Vegas when one of the newer producers was sitting in the limo waiting for us because it was like a long Hummer limo and the camera crew had to be in there. And instead of sitting on one end, I think she thought she was sitting at the end Hef wouldn't want to sit in, but she was really sitting in the seat he did want to sit in, and he flipped out. And I just remember it was like really embarrassing. It was one of those moments where I just kind of like dissociate and go somewhere else. I know people are going to ask me, do you regret making a chocolate vagina? And I don't really feel like I'm playing by the rules when I answer these questions. I don't know what people's rules are, but I feel like there's not a lot I regret doing because I feel like if I didn't do it, then I wouldn't know. Like, I would probably still think it would be a great idea to make a chocolate vagina on camera for a show that I have no editorial control over. Wait, I wouldn't think that was a good idea. So yeah, I do regret making a chocolate vagina. I don't regret the idea because I do think it's funny, but they were just a little too vulgar about it, I think. So it's interesting because Kayla and Laura Croft came with us on this trip. And you also see Kelly Carrington, another playmate. I think she was dating George Maloof at this time. I set them up. But it's weird because except for Kayla, who they make a big deal out of, they crop everybody else out. Like, they very deliberately, like later when we watch Bridget do the thing with O, Kelly is sitting next to Kendra, but they deliberately crop her out of the shot. And you don't see Laura once in this episode. And I wonder, what was that all about? Oh my God, Hef has one of those foam hands that they hold up at like sports events. But this one is flipping the bird. And they blur that. But they don't blur the chocolate vagina. And if I get flagged for saying vagina as many times as I'm saying it, I'm not going to be happy. Hi, don't mind my mess. As I'm editing, I wonder if they specifically didn't blur that out on purpose to embarrass me. Like, okay, we can get away with not blurring this because it's just a representation of her vagina and not her actual vagina, but we're gonna blur everything else. We're gonna blur out Kendra's mold, we're gonna blur out a foam hand that's flipping the bird. You know, I feel like because I left the mansion in August of 2008 and this didn't air until like October or November of 2008, they would have the time to do that. And the producer was upset with me for leaving and did a lot of immature things, in my opinion, after I left that were meant to like embarrass me or ruin my reputation. So I would not be surprised if this was part of it. So Kayla was with us because it was her 21st birthday, right around Hef's birthday. And they have a scene of Hep and Kayla looking very cozy on the couch and him joking about being with her. And I definitely wasn't like threatened by it. Like I knew Kayla like wasn't going after him, and I was like secure in our own relationship because for the last couple of years, like that just wasn't the vibe. Like he wasn't like looking for new people. But also as I'm watching this, I think, I wouldn't say I'm definitely not over him at this point. But I think I was just so comfortable in the relationship. It was like an old married couple who'd been together for 10 years. And you're just like, if somebody kind of like vaguely flirts, but you know, they're not serious, you don't really care. You know what I mean? But I would be over him not long after this. They seem to really be going hard on like the Hef and Kayla being cozy, because now we're in another scene where they have like a birthday sundae and I'm like taking pictures of them. And I don't know if it's like the show trying to make it look like something's happening for drama, or maybe it just appeared that way, because I think I was even pushing that a little bit just because I'm so into like themes and like cutesy stuff that I'm like, oh, it's both of your birthday. Let's get you guys a sundae and I'll take a picture. You know, like that's just kind of my thing. So I don't know if there was any MO behind all that from the show's perspective, but that would have been typical. Like I'm sure they were hoping that I was going to get pissy about it or something, but joke's on them. I remember that sundae being really good. Like they had good quality ice cream. I've said this before, but Cirque du Soleil was always so great for the show to work with. They would always like give us so much footage and so much access. There was a security guy who worked with us and I always called him John Gotti because he kind of looks like John Gotti. He's sitting in the back of this scene with Mary when we're watching Bridget perform with O. And this is a scene where they like cut off Kelly Carrington. You barely see her, but you don't see Laura at all. I don't know why they were like cropping everybody out. Like they went hard on Kayla in this episode, but cropped everybody else out. So that night we went to dinner at Trader Vic's. They used to have one at Planet Hollywood. This is the cup I got from it. And if you watch these reaction videos, you know I love Trader Vic's. That was my favorite restaurant in LA back when it was at the Beverly Hilton. But the one in Vegas wasn't as good. It was not the same menu, not the same vibe. Like they still had the fun drinks, but it wasn't the same. But we got a phone call from somebody when we were there saying that there was a surprise for Hef in the suite and that David LaChapelle was going to be there, which I was so excited about because I was obsessed with David LaChapelle. I loved his work from like the 90s and the 2000s, and I really like wanted to like do something with him like at the Playboy studio or something, but I never got that chance. But I was so excited to meet him. And also the guy I would end up dating after Hef was there as well, which was, but we didn't, like we took a picture together. Like we didn't even talk, or I don't remember even like engaging with him or saying anything about like the other times we'd met each other before. So it was an interesting night. And of course that was the night when Pamela Anderson walked a cake out to Hef completely naked. We'll get to that. You guys, the 9 group stalker is back. I mentioned him before in a Vegas episode. It was this guy, really nice guy, and he would show up at like every 9 group event, and he was like a red carpet videographer. And my friend Allison Waite, you know her from the show, she was at the Palms for a while, and she was like, they call him the 9 group stalker because he's at everything. And I just love seeing him again. It just brings back the memories. And they focus on this one girl who works at the club in a red bunny costume, and she's really pretty. I wonder who she was. I'm surprised she like wasn't in the magazine. You guys, I can't get over the fact that in the Hugh Hefner suite in Vegas, there was a picture right when you walk in of a centerfold. And if you watch the Secrets of documentary, you would know like her tragic backstory. And like he has to be aware of that backstory. And it just seems weird that that's the picture chosen for like right when you walk in. I'm not saying like her presence should be erased or anything like that. It's just odd, you know? They blurred Pamela Anderson, but they don't blur the chocolate vagina. Okay, I can see Laura in the background for like one quick second in the Pam scene. It's interesting because in the scene where Pamela Anderson comes out naked, they don't show David LaChapelle or the other guy at all, like completely cut out, which I guess isn't that weird since they cut out a bunch of the playmates we were with. But that's odd. And also in the commentary for this, I don't mention anything about it, which is weird because at the time I did the commentary, I was like dating the other guy. And I wonder if I didn't say anything just because they were cut out. So I thought, let's not go there. Or if the producers cut it out after the fact. Because I remember I did say a couple things about him in the commentary and the producer got so angry at me. Like Kendra talked about Hank through most of season 5 and like, oh, Hank bought me this and I was with Hank then and blah, 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 blah. So I like said a couple things about the person I was dating, even though I was not actually dating him when I was still with Hef. Freaked out. So I don't know if it was cut out or if I didn't say anything. I don't remember. It was just weird. So then we cut back to the mansion. We're in the dining room. Pamela Anderson is there with Steve Bing, who passed away recently, sadly. And then one of Hef's sons comes over and gives him a cake. And I think this is the first time we've seen one of Hef's kids on the show. Besides Christy, we've seen Christy, but I think this is the first time we've seen one of his younger kids on the show. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so best and worst about that episode, I think, well, worst was obviously the chocolate vagina. Like, I hate that. Best is, I think I just liked all my outfits. I liked that my hair is looking healthier. I just look like I'm in a better place. I can tell that I'm just more secure in the relationship and living life. And also just remembering how fun that night in Vegas was. So yeah, overall good episode except for the chocolate vagina that they just had to zoom in on all the time. But they blur literally everything else they could possibly think to blur except that. So thanks guys, love you. Anyway, next time we will be getting into the Super Bowl episode, another one that we filmed for season 5. So I think all these season 5 ones are gonna be good. Lots to talk about. So I'll see you then.